Welcome again to the Old Principal. I am the Old Principal, and we've come to another English instructional program. So, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about scared of deep water. Scared of deep water. 因为深水，深深的水而害怕。Okay, very fearful about it. But before we do, as is our custom, we'll let Mrs. Ash first read the story. Try to understand it. It shouldn't be too hard. This is not a hard lesson. And then I'll come back and we'll talk about it.
Number 15, Scared of Deep Water. I love swimming. Well, that is, I love swimming now. But there was a time in my life when I didn't love swimming. My father was determined that we should learn how to swim. He enrolled us in a beginner's swimming class at the local university. The swimming pool had a very strange rule. All the little boys learning to swim were not allowed to wear anything, not even swimming suits. The teachers wore swimming suits, but not us. Fortunately, there were no girls allowed. As long as we were in the water, we were not too self-conscious, but standing on the pool side was a different matter. Usually, swimming pools have a shallow end that gradually deepens to the other end. But the bottom of this pool was too steep for little boys like my brother and me. If I lost hold of the pool side, I was terrified. I would immediately begin to flail the water, hoping to grab the edge. The instructors were expert swimmers, but they didn't know anything about teaching little boys. Eventually, we did learn to nervously swim across the pool, although I was still scared to death of the water. On the last day of class, all the parents were invited to watch us demonstrate our skills. On that day, we wore swimming suits. Overall, my first swimming experience was so bad that I decided to teach myself to swim. That summer, I went to the local public swimming pool, not to play like the other children, but rather to teach myself how to swim. Fortunately for me, I was able to overcome my fear of water. Over time, I took more classes, but not at the university. I eventually became an instructor trainer. That is, I taught teachers how to teach swimming. And you can be sure that I helped swimming teachers to be more understanding of little children.
Welcome back. I love swimming. I do. 我很喜欢游泳. That's one of my, well, I was going to say one of my favorite sports. I like walking, I like running, I like swimming, I like anything with exercise going on. That is, I love swimming now. But there was a time in my life that I did not like swimming. I didn't love swimming, I didn't like swimming. Well, you could say 很讨厌. But things changed. I love swimming now, but there was a time in my life. 我人生有一段时间, a time in my life when I didn't love swimming. Now, normally we would say love is I, okay? Or 爱惜, but here it's better 喜欢. You love your girlfriend or boyfriend or mother and father, and you like swimming. Now you can say love, of course. You can say I love swimming, I like swimming. Everybody knows what you mean. 游泳. Do you like to swim? Going on. My father was determined that we should learn how to swim. You know, come to think about it, even to this day, I don't think I ever saw my dad swim. I'm sure he could swim, but I don't think I ever saw him swim. But he was determined that we should learn how to swim. 他已经有这种决心了 that we should learn how to swim. Okay, he enrolled us. Okay, 给我们报名 what? In a beginner's swimming class at the local university. First of all, 当地的大学 we were little boys, and this is the college, or whatever. And he wanted us to take beginner's swimming, 初级游泳班 beginner's swimming. Of course, you have beginners and intermediate, and that's all sorts of different levels of accomplishment. Okay, going on. The swimming pool had a very strange rule. Nowadays, that would never happen. And you know what the strange 这个规定好奇怪 Now, it would never happen today. Do you know why? Because here was the rule going on. All little boys learning to swim were not allowed to wear anything, not even swimming suits. Nope, you could not wear your swimming suit. Okay, all little boys learning how to swim were not allowed to wear anything. Okay, no clothes, no swimming, 游泳衣服游泳裤 Nope, no way. Going on. I must say that nowadays you couldn't do that. Nowadays, you say, well, are we more cultured, more 文明? Well, I don't know about that, but you couldn't do that. In those days, you could, but nowadays, 现代不行. The teachers wore swimming suits. 不公平啊! They wore swimming suits, but we couldn't wear swimming suits. They wore swimming suits, but not us. Fortunately, 幸亏 there were no girls allowed. 这个女同学不能到那个地方 to allow means to 不许他们进去 Okay, they were not allowed. Going on. As long as we were in the water, we were not too self-conscious. Okay, you understand that? Self-conscious and 难为情 Okay, 难为情 Okay, so that's being self-conscious. Now, as long as we were in the water, so we were down in the water, 在水里面，不是我们不会太难为情。But standing on the pool side was a different matter. 站在 个游泳池旁边呢，另外一回事。It was a different matter. So we were a little bit self-conscious in the water, but out of the water is kind of like, where are my clothes? But I guess we survived. Okay, going on. Usually, swimming pools have a shallow end and gradually deepens to the other end, to the deep end, okay? So if you have a shallow end,水比较浅的一边呢, okay? And then it's 渐渐的 gets deeper, 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 deeper until you come to the deep end. Usually the deep end is 3 or 4 meters, 3到4公尺, okay? So you have the shallow end 浅 and gradually 慢慢这个斜坡呢 deepens 越来越深 to the other end. Going on. But the bottom of this pool was too steep for little boys. That was a problem for me and my brother. My brother and me, excuse me. But the bottom of this pool was too steep. Okay, 这个斜坡太厉害. Okay. And I'm sure eventually you will hear me explain that my brother and I were very small. Now, I'm tall today, but back then I was very short, okay? Now, if I lost hold of the pool side, that means I'm holding on, 我正在抓住, okay? And then 松掉, and I lost hold, 抓不住. The pool side, 这个池岸呢, 这个游泳池岸边呢, I was terrified, 很害怕. Terrified, 很害怕. Going on, I would immediately begin to flail, okay? I would immediately begin to flail the water, hoping to grab the edge. Well, what does it mean to flail? Okay, 乱打. So you're just moving your hands and you're going all around and this is flailing your hands. Flail. Good word, flail. We began to flail the water, so we were trying to keep our heads above the water. And what were we trying to do? We were hoping to grab the edge. Okay? 想要抓住这个边上 grab it. And you know, actually, a lot of people, when they get into a swimming pool or get into deep water, they do the same thing. They just flail like, they can't relax. And of course, the more they flail, the more energy is used. And then it's easy to have problems going on. The instructors were expert swimmers. Okay. 这个教练非常非常专门的 or at least they could swim very well. But they didn't know anything about teaching little boys. Understand? Teaching little boys, 教那个小男孩根本没有经验。They didn't know anything about this. So, 教员, an instructor, 教员, probably in the swimming world it would be 教练, okay? Were expert swimmers. 非常非常好。But they didn't know anything about teaching. 不知道怎么样教导或者教小男孩。Going on. Eventually we did learn how to nervously cross the pool. Okay, nervously 提心吊胆 nervously. I mean, to go from one side 有一边到另外一边. Man, when the teacher asked us to do that, I was so nervous. My heart was going bop, 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 like this. It was very, very hard to nervously, well, you can say 紧张的, okay, 提心吊胆, across the pool. Although I was still scared to death of water. So we did learn to swim a little, not much, at least go from one side to the other. But I was still 怕得要死. I was still scared to death of water. Going on. On the last day of class. Okay, now we've gone there many times. On the last day of class. 最后一天啊. All the parents were invited to come. They were invited to watch us demonstrate, okay, 表演 our skills, 技巧, okay? Could we swim? Was it possible for us to swim? You know, this was the day. And all the parents, okay, they were there. Guess what? On that day, we wore swimming suits. It was the first and the last day that we wore swimming suits. Because all the rest of the time, 没办法穿这个游泳裤. But on that day, because the parents were there and brothers and sisters and all of these things, they were all there. So, you know, we were allowed to wear our swimming suits. Going on. Overall, 总的来说了, overall, my first swimming experience was so bad that I decided to teach myself. 我自己要自学. I don't need a teacher. I will learn how to do it. My first swimming experience, 经验, was so 多么不好, 甚至于 that I decided to teach myself how to swim. 要教自己怎么样游泳. Of course, if everybody did that, then you wouldn't need teachers, right? Didn't think about that. Go ahead. That summer, I went to the local swimming pool. Okay, 就是那个暑假 I went to the local public, okay, swimming pool, 这个公众的游泳池 okay, it was 可能 belonged to the city, okay? Not to play like the other children. Normally, when children go to a swimming pool, they go to what? They go to play. But I did not go to play. 我不是去玩的 Not like the other children, at least. 而是 okay, 我去 to teach myself how to swim. To teach myself how to swim. Who was the teacher? I was the teacher. Who was the student? I was the student. I'm just thinking about my experience during those years. It's quite interesting because during the hot summer, the sun, 这个很炎热的夏天 the sun is shining down there. How many people went to the swimming pool? Many, many, many people went to the swimming pool. Okay? So, when you're teaching yourself to swim, you can swim a little bit and then you'll boom, and you run into somebody. Okay? This is a 公众的 swimming pool. Many people, and I'm teaching myself how to swim. Going on. Fortunately for me, I was able to overcome my fear of water. I was able to overcome 克服 my fear of water. 我对水的畏惧 my fear of water. Overcome in this case is 克服. Of course, you can say, sometimes, we say 胜过, but 克服 is a more appropriate word there. Going on. Over time, a lot of time. Over time means 经过很多时间 I took more classes. 真正的上课 I took advanced beginning, I took intermediate, but I never took another class at the university. I took my class at the public school, at the public swimming pool. I didn't go to the university. Going on. Eventually, I became an instructor trainer. That is, I taught teachers how to teach swimming. I often say, I teach teachers how to teach swimming. Got that? I teach teachers how to teach swimming. Okay? Eventually, okay, after many years, I was in my 20s, 30s, 30 years old. I became an instructor trainer. Okay, instructor trainer. That means I teach instructor. Okay, 教练, you can say trainer, 教练, instructor, 这老师 or 教练的教练也可以说。Of course, I know that's 不好听, but that's okay. I taught teachers how to teach swimming. Going on. And you can be sure that I helped swimming teachers to be more understanding of little children. What does it mean to be understanding of little children? It simply means 理解他们. Little children are different than adults. And the way they think, and I tell you, if a child overcomes his fear of water, 克服他对水的这个畏惧, if he overcomes this fear of water when you are young, you will be okay for the rest of your life. But if you never overcome the fear of water, in fact, many adults, when they get around water, they're scared, 怕得要死, scared to death. And when they're scared to death, what happens? They stay away from water. And it's quite dangerous because sometimes they have an accident, 有一个意外, and they're thrown in the water. Then what do? There's nothing to do. So learn to swim. Well, I think that's all the time we have for today. We do have an email address. Our email address is theoldprincipal@gmail.com. Our website is www.theoldprincipal.org. Hey, I've had a great time with this lesson, and I hope that you'll bring somebody and join me next time also. Until then, bye-bye.